If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified of new videos. Last updated on July 30, 2016. Date: February 2003. Location: Tualatin, Oregon. Time: night. Summary: as the witness' boyfriend lay sleeping in bed, she got up to use the bathroom. After she left the bathroom, she decided to walk out to the living room and have a cigarette before she tried to go back to sleep. The apartment was pitch black. There were no windows except in the bedroom, which was covered with blinds and curtains, and the living room had a sliding glass door to a balcony that was right alongside the main door and completely closed up with a drape as well. As she started down the path to the front of the living room, she could sense someone walking up behind her. She thought it was her boyfriend and continued down the hall, expecting that he was wanted to scare her. After a couple of more steps, she quickly glanced back and was stunned when she didn't see him behind him, but what appeared to be an outline of a figure with a faint glow around it. She could see the bedroom door behind, through it. She looked straight ahead and continued walking. She was stopped on her tracks as she reached the end of the walkway, where it branched to either the entry to the kitchen or the entry to the dining room, or straight ahead to the living room. She literally felt as though something was standing in front of her. She was afraid to look up, but did glance behind, at which time she saw the same outline as before, only more defined. There was almost an actual being there, though it seemed to glow all around. She quickly turned back toward the living room, as it seemed there was only one presence in front and behind her, but also from the dining room and the kitchen. She was literally trapped by the four separate beings. The more she was feeling and seeing them, the more she could see them take shape. The one behind her seemed to be wearing suspenders and maybe plaid, and was probably no more than 5 feet 7 inches, but the others seemed quite a bit larger and taller. The whole time that she felt their presence around her, she felt a wind moving around at the end of the walkway. There were no windows opened. She could also hear what sounded like unintelligible whispering. During all this, she was trying to look away and reach the light on the kitchen entry directly behind her on the hallway wall she was leaning on. She felt as though the presence were forcing her to the floor. She did manage to turn on the light. As soon as she did, the room seemed back to normal. It wasn't cold or windy. Her boyfriend had been sound asleep the whole time. Source: UFOsabout.com. Paranormal Stories. August. Date: February 2003. Location: Horsham, West Sussex, England. Time: unknown. Summary: a friend of Eve Knowles-Martin reported seeing a silver-suited 7-foot-tall man, which apparently leaped across the width of the road in one bound. There have been other strange occurrences in the area, including strange chemical smells, no birds or wildlife present, an apparent lack of oxygen, rapid temperature changes, and most strange of all, bright blue light that upon closer inspection turned out to be a 40 feet vertical blue flame burning in the middle of the woods. Source: 14 times. Date: February 2003. Location: time. Summary: source: location: Sullana, near Pura la Vieja, Peru. Date: February 2003. Time: unknown. During a heavy wave of UFO sightings that included luminous UFOs, silvery disks, and hovering spheres, witnesses reported seeing colored lights hovering above the rooftops, and in the same area encountering a tall, beautiful blonde woman with wild golden streaked chestnut-colored hair, wearing a golden tanga with little silver stars embroidered beneath the waistband. It reportedly vanished in plain sight. Source: Giorgio Piacenza and Monica Gaetano in UFO Roundup. February 2003. Date: February 2003. Location: time. Summary: source: location: Simferopol, Crimea, Ukraine. Date: February 2003. Time: night. Resident reported going to the balcony of his apartment when he was surprised to see a beam of light descend from the sky. The beam of light descended from the sky and landed on a nearby balcony, and suddenly a totally naked male figure materialized within the beam of light right on the balcony. The UFO itself was unseen, but was obviously hovering high above. The man was apparently semi-conscious and disoriented. Frightened, the witness ran back inside, thinking that he might be the next abduction victim. Source: Anton Anfilov, UK UFAS. Date: February 2003. Location: time. Summary: source: location: near Izmit, Turkey. Date: February 2003 time. Night. The witness was in his vehicle entering a viaduct bridge, 90 km from Istanbul, and as his car slowed down to 120 km, the headlights of his car shone on a bizarre animal or creature crossing the road just ahead of him. It sort of leaped into the highway just from behind the barrier. It then bounded across the highway. The fashion in which it was running was peculiar. It was arching its back as its head was still held low and between its shoulders. It had a shiny gray silvery color body. It had no tail. The witness hit the brakes to give it more time to get across. Just as it got across the 4 lanes and reached the mid-barriers, it stopped and rose on its hind feet. It stood just as a kangaroo would stand and looked around. It stared at the headlights as though it was mesmerized for a few seconds. Its forelegs were long enough to touch its knees. Its eyes reflected the headlights, in green. By then the witness had come as close as 30 meters from it. It had a slight hunch while standing up, and the witness estimated its height at about 1.65 meters when it was erect. Then it leaped across the middle barrier and bounded across the other side of the highway, which headed east. The witness further described the creature as having fairly large eyes and no hair. Source: Castle of Spirits Stories. Index date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary. Source: Location: Tel Aviv, Israel. Date: February 2003. Time: Night. The female witness, traveling alone, was staying at the Mount Zion Hotel, reported suffering from a vivid dream of seeing strange creatures floating towards the hotel terrace from the nearby valley of Hinnom. The creatures, not described, reportedly were silent and menacing and had bad intentions. No other information. Source: UFO Israel. Guestbook. Entry date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary. Source: Location: Fajardo, Puerto Rico. Date: February 3, 2003. Time: 0200. A 70-year-old Domingo Ramos awoke to the sounds of very loud commotion coming from rabbit cages. Looking out the window, he was stunned to see a bizarre winged bird-like creature with long wings and huge protruding eyes, apparently sucking the blood out of the unfortunate rabbits. Ramos described the creature as about 5 feet tall that also attacked a goat, which it left wounded and weakened. Ramos yelled at the creature, which then rose and flew away in an unknown direction. The terrified witness described the creature as having semi-human facial features. He notified the police in the morning. Source: OVNI. Net. Puerto Rico. Quoting Miguel Rivera Cruz, El Vocero, San Juan. Date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary. Source: Location: King's Cross, NSW, Australia. Date: February 9, 2003. Time: 1600. A local artist was painting the roof of his apartment when he felt something watching him. Looking up, he saw a metallic knob or helmet-shaped object about the size of a car, hovering directly above him. He could see one occupant, a cloaked figure. Although the object had no windows, this seeing was or a feeling, and the witness was in fact sure there were 2 such figures in the object, although he could only see one. The object vanished after about 1 or 2 seconds. The witness thinks in response to his looking up at it. There was no suggestion that it went anywhere. It just instantly disappeared. Source: Ralph Bergman, AUFORNNSW. Date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary. Source: Location: Sierra Bermeja area, Puerto Rico. Date: February 9, 2003. Time: 2100. Ismael Velez heard several very loud reports sounding like thunderclaps coming from outside. Going outside to investigate, he saw a tall winged creature about 6 to 8 feet tall, with large shiny eyes and large hairy claw-like hands. It suddenly ran and disappeared into a wooded area. Source: Wilson Sosa, Confederación de Ovnología de Puerto Rico. Date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary. Source: Location: Sierra Bermeja area, Puerto Rico. Date: February 11, 2003. Time: 0030. Upon hearing noises outside, Ismael Velez looked out to see a short, apparently nude little man, with a large round head and large slanted dark eyes, running down a concrete stairwell in the yard. It disappeared behind some parked automobiles. Source: Wilson Sosa, Confederación de Ovnología de Puerto Rico. Date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary, Source, Location: near Seattle, Washington. Date: February 13, 2003. Time: 0230 A. The witness, a police crime scene technician, was leaving a scene late one night. It was beginning to rain, and suddenly his car began making weird noises. The radio turned on automatically and started tuning to numerous stations a second. The lights inside and outside the car were flashing. When he looked up, he saw a huge triangular-shaped object above the car. In a few seconds, blue blinding lights distracted the witness. It all suddenly stopped and his car was suddenly parked on the side of the road with everything switched off, and when he looked at his watch it was 0303 A. He had lost 33 minutes. He turned his car on and drove back to his office. No hypnotic regression has been attempted. Source: NU Fork. Date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary, Source, Location: near Calama, Chile. Date: February 20, 2003. Time: evening. Woman from a nearby village reported seeing a round object flying at a very low altitude, about 4 feet from the ground. According to her, the object came very close to her and tried to take her away, by using some kind of force to pull her towards it. She said she managed to avoid being taken by holding on to a small tree until the object finally gave up and left. Source: Luis Ferrer, Calama UFO Center. Date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary, Source, Location: Silver Spring, Maryland. Date: February 22, 2003. Time: midnight. Witness, a teacher, was in her room grading some papers when all of a sudden she noticed a bright light outside her apartment. She stepped outside to see what it could be when she suddenly felt a warm sensation come over her body. Her next memory was on being alone, lying on a cold hard table with figures wearing doctor-like masks standing around her. The figures were at least 8 feet tall. They appeared to be slimy, since the witness was touched in several private places by the humanoids. They stuck a needle in the witness, but she felt no pain. In the background, more figures appeared to be the female version of the other ones. The humanoids spoke in an unknown language that could not be understood. The speech resembled a series of clicks and mumbled speech. The room grew cold and she felt something being pulled out of her. She believes it was her appendix. She lost consciousness again at this point. She woke up later and found a scar on her side. Source: NU Fork. Date: February 2003. Location: Time, Summary, Source, Location: Calama, Chile. Date: February 23, 2003. Time: 0130 A. Cousins Francisco Araya Carrizo and Jose Carvajal Carrizo reported that as they arrived home late one night they spotted a huge shadowy humanoid figure standing on the rooftop. The figure made an extreme amount of noise as it jumped to the roof of the terraced patio. Their mother had been hearing somebody running on the roof for the last 30 minutes the men had arrived. Around the same time, several witnesses reported seeing a hovering and rotating silvery craft at about 1,500 meters over the area. Source: Jamie Ferrer, Calama UFO Center and Dr. Virgilio Sanchez Osejo Miami UFO Center. Date: February 23, 2003. Location: Oswestry, UK, England. Time: 6:30. Summary: egg-shaped object traveling about 100 to 150 meters. H flying below 1,000 feet. I was about a mile away from the object. Source: NU Fork. Date: February 23, 2003. Location: Las Palas, Salta, Argentina. Time: 0900 A. Summary: 24-year-old Milagros Lincoln had gone into a rocky hillside to retrieve her goats when he noticed a shiny object on the nearby hill. Close to the summit, she noticed a metallic object similar to a bus, rectangular in shape with numerous visible windows and doors on one of its visible sides. She counted about 8 windows on the craft. The object appeared to be made out of a shiny metallic alloy, which reflected the rays of the sun. Around the craft she noticed other shiny objects, square in shape, some bigger than the others. She counted about 14 of these square metallic covers. At this point, her father, 74-year-old Don Lincoln, came up and also noticed the shiny metallic object. In the meantime, Milagros had climbed a bit further and was now closer to the object. At this point, both witnesses noticed several human-like figures wearing white tight-fitting garments moving around the object, apparently working on the shiny metallic covers or plates. There were about 6 figures in total. Don Lincoln also noticed, a little further down from the summit, 3 additional human-like figures dressed in black tight-fitting outfits that appeared to be looking around and inspecting the surroundings. After about 30 minutes, Milagros climbs higher to approach the object and its occupants, but when she does, the whole scene appears to have vanished. Later, while checking the supposed landing site, a deep rectangular track is found on the ground. Source: Gaceta OVNI, June 2003. Date: February 26, 2003. Location: Rosario de la Frontera, Argentina. Time: 2200. Summary: alerted by the sounds of his barking dogs, 62-year-old Patricio Saldano, armed with a flashlight, went out to investigate. He noticed that the dogs were furiously running back and forth from one area of the yard to the other. He then saw, standing only about 10 meters from him, a huge hairy figure standing on 2 legs. It resembled a giant ape, which stared at the witness with large bright red eyes. The creature was silent and moved its huge arms in an apparent attempt to scare the dogs away, which curiously did not attack. The creature had long sharp claws that reflected the light in the darkness. His wife and 2 young children also saw the bizarre creature, which disappeared into the darkness. Several days earlier, a dead calf had been found dead and partially eaten. Source: Planeta Listas, quoting newspaper sources. Date: late February 2003. Location: Caspana, Calama, Chile. Time: afternoon. Summary: a group of Catholic high school students, most of them 15 years of age, reported seeing a strange being near their campus. They heard strange noises on the rooftops of other houses in the neighborhood. They then saw a strange figure standing about 1.2 meters in height. The being appeared to move about not by walking but by making small leaps.